Our scripture reading this morning is from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 15, verses 21 through 28. We have been in Matthew for quite a while. Jesus has been teaching and preaching and healing for many, many, many days, most recently in Gennesaret. So let's listen to God's holy word now. Jesus left that place and went away to the district of Tyre and Sidon. Just then, a Canaanite woman from that region came out and started shouting, "Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is tormented by a demon." But he did not answer her at all. And his disciples came and urged him, saying, "Send her away, for she keeps shouting at us." He answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she came and knelt before him, saying, "Lord, help me." He answered, "It is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." She said, "Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table." Then Jesus answered her, "Woman, great is your faith. Let it be done for you as you wish." And her daughter was healed instantly. May God richly bless our hearing, our reading, and understanding of God's holy word this morning. I'm going to share a phrase with you that is most often heard whenever a new idea or a new thought is brought up and change might be coming. Anyone want to guess what it is? We've never done it that way before, right? 7 deadly words. Never mind the 7 deadly sins. We've never done it that way before. And those words are closely followed by, "That's not how we do things here," and "Sorry, no." And fairly or unfairly, these words are often associated with the church. Now, let's be honest, how many of you have said that before? I'll be honest, I know I've said that. How many have heard that before? I'd say just about everyone. And I think that's because the church can be seen as an organization or a group of people that just doesn't like change. So we don't do it. Or if we do change, it takes a really, 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 really long time. And that's because, as we all know, change is hard. Another question, how many of you actually like change? Oh, that's so much better than the first service. There was only one person at the first service who liked change. So whenever I'm ready to change, raise your hands again. So, okay, I'm coming to you. For most of us, change is hard. Whether it's in the church or at work, in a relationship or another part of your life, there are things we hold on to out of comfort, out of routine, out of tradition. And sometimes we hold on to them because we're just too tired or nervous or scared to change. Which is why when I was asked by a family to do a funeral for a man whose family wanted his casket to be placed on the back of a tow truck and towed to Augusta, my first words were, "I don't think so. I've never done it that way before." Then when I was told we'd be escorted to Augusta by a group of bikers on their Harleys, I said, "Oh no, that's not how I usually do things." Then when they said that they'd like me to ride in the tow truck itself and help lead the way, I finally said, "I'm sorry, I can't do this. No." I was nervous. I was worried about what my congregation might think when they found out, because I knew they'd find out. You always find out. I was worried about what my friends might say when they find out. Who puts a casket on the back of a tow truck and drives it up 95? And to be honest, I was a little bothered. Why couldn't they just have a nice, normal funeral like everyone else? But the family was persistent. They knew what they were asking was unorthodox, that it wasn't traditional at all. But it was what they wanted. It was what they needed in order to honor their father and to ultimately bring about healing. And they weren't going to take no for an answer. Like our scripture reading today, we have a woman, a Canaanite, a non-Jew. And because she was not Jewish, she was considered to be different. A little bit on the outside, a little less than. But this woman, a non-Jew, a Canaanite, knows what she wants, knows what she needs. She needs Jesus to heal her daughter. So she shouts to get his attention, "Lord, have mercy, my daughter is being tormented by a demon." And Jesus ignores her. It was either culturally unacceptable to speak to her, or maybe he just didn't want to. She continues to shout to try to get his attention, so much so that she finally annoys the heck out of the disciples, who ask Jesus to send her away. Jesus responds by saying, "I was only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." That's the tradition. That's the expectation. It's right there in the book of Isaiah. I am here only for the Jews. I was sent to save them. In other words, I've never done it that way before. The woman is persistent. "Lord, help me," she cries. And Jesus replies with this, "It's not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." Which is not the most loving response we've ever heard from Jesus, is it? But that was a fairly common expression of the day. The woman was not Jewish. The good news of Jesus Christ, the good news of God's love and care and forgiveness and healing, was not for her. In other words, "That's not how I do things. I'm sorry. No." Although I did hear a pastor say once that Jesus had ignored other cultural customs of the day before, so maybe in this case, he was just tired. He'd been preaching and teaching and healing people for days. What if he was just tired and he wanted to go home to rest? What if he just didn't want to be bothered? He was human after all, as well as divine, and don't we all get tired sometimes? And we just don't want to be bothered. The woman does not take no for an answer. She knows what she wants. She knows what she needs. She needs what Jesus has to offer. So she says, "Yes, Lord. Yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." She will settle for the crumbs. She will take the leftovers. What's left over of God's forgiveness and love and grace and healing. Because there's always leftovers. There's always crumbs. And Jesus gets it. And he applauds her faith and heals her daughter. And now the good news of Jesus Christ is not just for the Jews, but for all. Change can be a good thing. It can even end up being a blessing. Think of the change that this church has seen in 300 years. Back in the early days, the congregation, as it met in this church, sat on hard wooden pews, right? There were no pew pads. That was the tradition. And the sermon would go on for how long? Anyone want to guess? 3 hours, if you were lucky. And the congregation sang the hymns without the help of an organ or the piano. The person directing the music, let's say it was Diane, would have stood up and lined the hymns. She would have sung the first line and then we would have followed. And the kids who were in church most likely would be sitting on the steps up to the pulpit so the minister could keep his eye on them. Can you imagine? And if you fell asleep, which after 3 hours, you're bound to do, someone would come by with a tickler and wake you up, and the minister would notice. And that's just the beginning. There are at least 50 pages in the parish house. The blue pages, who was responsible for putting all those together? Aha! I have you to thank. Someone recently asked me if I had memorized all those pages yet. Think of the changes that you, this church, has been through. Changes in buildings, in ministers, in ministries, which have all helped to make you who you are. A church that after 300 years is still a light to the community. A church that cares and comforts and seeks justice and works for peace and feeds the hungry and welcomes all. Think of the people that this church, that you have blessed over the years. Think of all the different ways that you have been a blessing to others. And think of how you might be a blessing in the years to come. What kind of changes will we see in 5, 10, 20, 300 years? The only constant is change, as they say. And change, while hard, can also be very, very good. Which is why I finally said yes to the family who wanted the unorthodox funeral. And this is how it turned out. The day of, we all gathered at the funeral home, the funeral director, myself, and the bikers, who, as it turned out, were part of a group called the Patriot Riders, who escort their fellow military to their final resting place on their Harleys or Triumphs or whatever their bike of choice is. The tow truck arrived, owned and driven by the son of the father who had died, and the pallbearers loaded the casket onto the tow truck and securely fastened it. As the tow truck pulled out onto Route 1, we were escorted by 100 bikers, men and women, and the police. You can imagine the looks we got as we slowly drove through town, and then the looks we got as we drove up 95. The bikers escorted us all the way up to Augusta, 100 miles, surrounding the tow truck on either side, and they roared into the cemetery ahead of us. There was another family finishing up a service there, and when they saw all the bikers and then the tow truck, their jaws dropped, and they made a hasty exit. The bikers then formed 2 lines, getting off their bikes, and as the casket came through on the tow truck, they saluted it. And then they came and gathered around the family while I said my prayers. This was not like anything I'd ever done before, and I had no idea what to expect. And yet, it was beautiful and respectful, and it honored the Navy man who had died and the ones left behind. And it brought care and comfort and healing to the family. It was a blessing to them, and it was to me too. I don't know what kind of change is coming to you, or to us, to this church, or what kind of change you might be in the middle of now. Things that you're holding on to out of comfort, or routine, or tradition, or maybe you're just tired, or nervous, or scared to change. You may even be getting ready to say, I've never done it that way before. That's not how we do things here. I'm sorry, no. But before you do, remember that change is good. And with God's help, it can even be a blessing to all. Let us pray. Dear God, change is always all around us. And it's not always easy. So we ask for your help. We ask for you to help us be ready for it, to embrace it, to try something new. And as we do, we ask your help to make it a blessing to us and to others. We ask all these things in your holy name. Amen. Our final hymn is number 401 in the New Century Hymnal. O God, in whom all